have my co-host Abdurrahman Gulay, who is representing the U.S. Palestinian Council. I am representing American Muslim Task Force on Civil Rights and Elections. We have our co-sponsor West Chamber of Commerce and Illinois Committee for Honest Government, as well as Congress on Bosnian Americans. I would like to welcome all of you. Thank you so much for coming here. We have some issues here. We have you noticed that light is, the fuse is tripping back and forth, so, and then also there's, AC is not working that great, so I apologize in advance. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, like Salman said, my name is Abdurrahman Gulay. I'm with the United States Palestinian Council, and we are happy to co-host this event. And we do have some food if you want to quietly go grab some. Also, we have some trays of desserts that just came in and some coffee. So feel free to help yourselves to some refreshments. Thank you, Ahmad Dabo, for the great desserts, some Middle Eastern bakery items. Thank you, sir. He's also a board member of the United States Palestinian Council and a Northside resident and businessman in this area. So we're going to start the event with some guest speakers. I would like to introduce, first of all, from the American Muslim Task Force, Dr. Ashraf Tumu. Is Dr. Ashraf? Is that Dr. Ashraf? Dr. Ashraf.
So we have Alderman of 49 Ward, Maria Hidden. Please give her a big hand. Thank you, Alderman, for everything you've been doing for this, not only the 49 Ward, but for the extended community, the Muslims and the Arabs and Indian and Pakistanis and all the other communities here. We look forward to work with you, and then we thank you for supporting us for all our endeavors. Thank you so much. We will have some state senators and state representatives who are friends of the community. They're not running for this position, but they will be here to support us. And then Abdul will introduce sitting senator and other friends here who are running for the congressional 9th district. We all know Jane Shukaski. She's not for the re-election, so it's an open seat. And these are the candidates, some of the candidates. There are 17 candidates running for this position, but these are the best people who are here right now. So,
Thank you. That's right. The Congresswoman is retiring, and there's many candidates for this position, and I'd like to give our appreciation for the ones who came today. There were some who had other events in the conflict, so they couldn't make it, and they send their apologies, but we are very glad to have the ones who were able to make it tonight. It's going to be a tough race. You have some very good candidates for this position, and we will hear more from them to help you decide on who you're going to vote for next year. Our first guest speaker is a veteran community leader. He's retired Judge William Haddad.
Judge Haddad is a chairperson of American Middle East Voters Alliance, which is a political action committee, local political action committee, so it cannot endorse Senate or congressional candidates, but we have a big platform for the local mayoral race and the state senate and the state representative. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Salman. Thank you very much, and thank you for all being here. It's nice to meet the panel. And I'm not running for anything, okay? I'm just here to talk a little bit about our responsibility in the voter initiative that we see here tonight. We are living in challenging times. I'm an Arab American. I'm part of the Middle East North African community. my heart, soul is concerned with what's going on in Gaza, with what we consider a genocide and a terrible situation there, as well as the release of the hostages and issues concerning October the 6th. But my heart and our challenge in our community deals with that very fact. Can you all hear me back there?
Yeah, but we can't see.
You can't see. Well, I do want you to see me because I'm very good looking. But our challenge also deals with what's going on in the streets of Chicago and Cook County. We're all concerned about what we see and hear, and the misrepresentations going on, and the disparagement of this great city of Chicago and our people here in Cook County, the defamation of our people. This city is a great city. We are the seat of museums. We have educational institutions par none. We were voted the best city in America just last week. We're very proud of our city and the tourism that comes here. And it grieves me to watch what people say about our city in order to release these masked people who come around the streets and snatch people and put them in vans. No matter what your political belief is, this seems wrong to me as a former judge, okay? And I speak on behalf of myself, of course. Thought I was going to dance there for a minute.
Thank you, Judge.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
All right, so the American Middle East Voters Alliance is the first Arab American political action committee in Illinois. We have a proprietary database of registered MENA voters of 365,000 in Illinois and 195,000 in Cook County. We endorse and we support candidates, not with money, but with the endorsements that we deploy throughout the country, or I should say the state. So that's what we do at AmVote PAC. And my main message to you is no matter what your feelings are about these elections, you must all vote. Now, I know you're here because you're interested in voting. But what about your family, your friends, all the people that you know? Get them registered, especially those new 18-year-old voters. Get them out there and have them register to vote and participate in this political process, because the single most important thing we can do is vote in these elections. Not just for Congress, school board, trustees, every election. All politics is local, says former Speaker Tip O'Neill. So with that, I want to thank you for having me speak a few minutes today and wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judge. Now, I would like to invite Alderman, my favorite Alderman in City Council, Maria Hedden. Please come and say a few words. Give her a big hand. 49 ward Alderman, godfather of all the progressive people.
I bet you tell every alderman that they're your favorite alderman in City Council. What do you guys think? Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I just want to echo participation at every level of our democracy right now is more important than ever. And it will continue to be so for months to come. So thank you for hosting the event. Thank you for running for office. And for some of you for serving in office already. And yes, everything we can do to mobilize our community. We have so much that unites us, that shares us. We have shared goals and values for the city of Chicago and for the entire United States. So thank you for the work that you are doing, and I look forward to listening to the debate tonight.
Thank you so much, Alderman. We have a guest speaker here who is running for State Rep District 12, which is Gold Coast downtown. He's a community member, always supporting our efforts. We work together with Rahm Emanuel's Iftar committee. He used to host the Iftar for 8 years while he was a mayor, then Lori Lightfoot, and now our beloved Mayor Brendan Johnson. So he's part of the Engagement Council. I would invite Karim Lakhani, who is running for State Rep District 12. Please give him a big hand, say a few words about the race, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to keep this quick because I know you're excited to hear from the candidates here. My name is Karim Lakhani. I'm running in the 12th district, like Salwanbhai said. This is in the city of Chicago from near north, including Old Town, Gold Coast, Lincoln Park, and East Lakeview. I'm the proud son of Pakistani immigrants. My parents, Mansoor and Shamim, came here in the 70s and have worked really hard in this country. And I think it's an important reminder that I've been giving voters that immigrants play a really critical role here, and they come here and they work hard and they build businesses and they create jobs and they contribute to their communities. And I think that's just an important thing that we need to remind people, especially today. And so I'm running to make a difference in the community, and hopefully with your help, inshallah, I'll be able to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kareem, and best of luck to you in your race.
Great, good luck.
We have a few other guests, but they're on their way, so we're going to start with the main program, which is the candidates for the 9th District Congressional seat. We're going to start with just introductions. We want to tell us who you are and why you are running.
Hi, is this on? Like the other one. Part of the fun part of being first. Hi, I'm Kat Abu Ghazaleh. I am a Palestinian American running for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois. I'm a researcher and journalist who covers the far right, so my work focuses on pretty much everyone that now leads our country. Stephen Miller, Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson. In fact, my work contributed to Tucker Carlson getting fired from Fox News, and Elon Musk deposed me this time last year in Chicago. My work has helped de-radicalize thousands and educate millions on far-right narratives and misinformation. And part of why I am running is I feel like our leaders are not taking the threat of the right seriously enough. Everyone in this room understands what happens when the far right gets into power. They attack visible minorities. They attack people that are vulnerable communities. They wear masks and rappel into our buildings to zip-tie children in the middle of the night. So part of why I'm running is because we need someone in Congress that understands these people, and I don't just understand them, I have a track record of winning against them. But I also think that the Democratic Party has become the less bad option for a lot of people, and it shouldn't be that way. That's why our campaign is focused on looking at housing, groceries, and healthcare as a human right, and also using our resources differently. Our campaign office in Rogers Park doubles as a mutual aid hub. Anyone that needs anything can come in at any time and grab clothes, food, toiletries, books. We held a backpack drive for kids that didn't have backpacks the day before school. This is how we're trying to focus our resources, because politics should be a team sport. And our office is welcome to everyone, particularly immigrants, except ICE. ICE is not welcome in our campaign office. As far as a candidate, our campaign has been grassroots to the core. Our average donation, even with 30,000 plus donors, is still $32. We are not beholden to billionaires, to corporate PACs, to Republican-funded PACs like AIPAC, although they are fundraising for one of my opponents, who is obviously not here. They called me a dangerous detractor, I think, for being Palestinian. And we are focused on trying to change the narrative with effective communication, reaching as many people as possible. We have over 7,000 volunteers and have been polling second despite being the long shot in March. This is where my dad and my grandfather started their lives in America. Chicago is a city of immigrants. It is a city where you can build something new, something better. No one leaves their home because it's the fun thing to do. It's hard. Everyone in this room knows that or comes from a family that understands that. If you want a fighter, I'm your candidate. I show up, I've been showing up, and I will continue to show up because we deserve better. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Ford. Thank you for having me tonight. I like to tell people I am not a politician. I'm a public health professional. But I'm getting involved in politics because I want the Democrats to start focusing on working class issues again. Unions are the backbone of this country. By democratizing our workforce, we're going to do a better job of democratizing the country. We need to understand that Social Security is the #1 anti-poverty program in the world that's ever happened. We cannot privatize it. We need to modernize it and shore it up so it's there for our kids and our grandkids, and it works for the way that people want to retire now and the way that people are working now. Climate change is huge for me. My degree is in environmental and occupational health, so I care a lot about the environment. We cannot just rely on talking points. I have a plan. It does not need to be my plan. I will support any logical plan that moves us forward and meets this moment. And then my signature issue that I cannot get away without telling you guys about tonight is the 4-day work week. We've seen it in other countries, we've seen it in other companies within this country. Where they do it, productivity increases, profitability increases, GDP increases, workforce participation increases, which helps things like Social Security. But more importantly, people's mental health improves, and they have less burnout. As an added benefit for many of the Muslim communities, if we have a 4-day work week and we get Friday off, then you'll get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So, hopefully if we do it here, it'll be around the world, and everybody will have their day of rest. The day of rest is important. We know this. Having more time is going to be one of the best things we can do for our communities. And even if you aren't working anymore, having your grandkids come visit a little bit more often wouldn't be bad either. So.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Simmons, and I serve as the state senator for the 7th District, which includes the communities of Rogers Park, Edgewater, Uptown, Lincoln Square, West Ridge, and North Center. And in 2021, I became the first Ethiopian American and the first LGBTQ person ever elected to the Illinois Senate. And in that capacity, I've been able to champion many issues that directly impact our communities, passing 50 pieces of legislation into law, including the new child tax credit in Illinois, legislation to erase medical debt for nearly 340,000 households in our state, and fully funding immigrant and refugee services has been a top priority of mine as son of an asylum seeker. It would be hard for me to talk about who I am on Devon Street without talking about my mother. I'm the son of my mom, who my mother used to bring me to Devon Street all the time as a kid. I grew up just 12 blocks south of here on Foster Avenue, and so we would literally walk down Rockwell to Devon Street and eat Nepalese food, Indian food, Pakistani food, and my mother and I both loved food from South Asia. It was how we bonded. And that's one of the beautiful things about the 9th District is the cultural diversity, and I like to think that I'm a product of that cultural diversity, being the son of an African American woman and the son of an asylum seeker from Ethiopia who arrived in this community shortly before I was born. And so, as the first person born on American soil, I take seriously the privilege to be a state senator and to walk into the halls of power and to fight for our communities, to fight for housing, to fight for healthcare, to fight for good schools for our young people, to fight against the system, honestly, the same system that keeps so many of our neighbors trapped in poverty and trapped in housing that is not dignified or affordable for them. And so I'm running for Congress because our community, I want to be a strong progressive voice for the 9th District. I just talked about a little bit about my family, and while my family is where I grew up, it's nothing special in the 9th District because we have so many households that are people who come from all over the world. The 9th District is literally like the Ellis Islands for immigrants and refugees from all continents, from every part of East and Central and West Africa, from every part of South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, and every part of Europe. And so I'm proud to be running to represent those communities as a strong voice for justice, as someone who will pass legislation and who will push back on complacent Democrats that frankly are not doing their jobs and they're not showing up for us and who are out of touch with our communities. And I'm running for Congress because I want to be have a strong constituent services office that meets the needs of our constituents in the same way that I have as a state senator, where our office has become seen as a space where people are never judged, where they are seen, where they are heard, where they're understood, and where they're helped. That is what our communities deserve and what they need, especially right now in the era of Donald Trump 2.0. And I'm so excited to have the privilege as a son of my parents to be sitting here. I still can't believe it. As a candidate for Congress, literally a mile away from where I grew up, and a mile away from where I went to grammar school at Bellong Elementary, where I had so many friends all throughout my childhood and early adult years. So thank you so much to all the organizations that put together tonight's forum. Really appreciate you doing this. This is such an important part of the civic process, making sure that all of our neighbors who are often overlooked by politicians and overlooked by the Democratic Party and taken for granted get an opportunity to have a voice in this process and to make an informed decision about who will be their next congressperson. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to the organizers for hosting. This is our 160th meet and greet in the district, and it's an honor to be here spending time with all of you. My name is Bushra Amiwala, and I serve on the Board of Education for Skokie School District 73.5. My story is incomplete without sharing my dad's story first. My father came to the United States from Karachi, Pakistan in the 80s with literally a $20 bill and an abundance of dreams. He worked extremely hard to make ends meet, and when we were born and raised in our single bedroom apartment right here on the north side in Rogers Park, we felt so grateful to be born and raised in this country. And my purpose and passion for service comes from this spirit of gratitude. When we moved to Skokie, when I was 9 years old, Skokie schools literally changed my life. Suddenly, teachers asked how to pronounce my name. By the time I made it to high school, I found opportunities that I never could have imagined, including a full-ride scholarship to attend DePaul University. By the time I was in high school, I also got involved. The mic audio went up, it wasn't just me. I got involved in a myriad of organizations. I have a decade of nonprofit experience. I just quit my job at Google after working there for 5 years to run for Congress full-time, and have 7 years of elected governance experience right here in my hometown in Skokie. And the public service, nonprofit sector, and government sector, they all have 3 things in common: how to manage budgets, problems, and people. And that is exactly the type of person we need representing this area. 35% of the people that live in this district don't speak English as their primary language. The top 3 languages are Spanish, Polish, and Urdu. So alhamdulillah, we're fluent in 2 out of the 3. Going to learn some Polish next. You all can laugh at that. And we have the highest mode when it comes to income earners in this district, meaning the people that make the most money and the least money, that difference is greater than any other congressional district in the state. That means the unique responsibility we have to champion universal health care, not just because it's the right thing to do, but it's the economically viable, fiscally responsible, logical mode for our country to adopt to. There's a reason why every modern country in the world that has it, and it's the same reason ours does not. It's championing immigration with a clear path to citizenship. Thinking about my friends who are here on student visas, to the people that are here on work visas. What does that process look like for them? And finally, our property taxes are too high. And it starts from the way that property taxpayers are burdened to fund their public schools. We only get 2% of our funding from federal funding sources. This is a national epidemic, and this is why we need to bring more school board members in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your introductions. Like I was telling you, we have some very great candidates for this position. Something that, my next question was something that Mike touched in. This is a large district with very diverse communities. And what's your plan on representing the various communities that are going to be in the district?
Yeah, I take diversity extremely seriously. Our staff reflects that. This is a district where 27% of the people in this district were born in another country. Their children are first-generation Americans, like me and Bushra and Mike. Sorry, Justin. This is one of the things we see from a lot of our politicians is an unwillingness to engage where voters are. And that's not just about being invited to forums like this, although that's fantastic and we're really grateful to be here. It's about taking the extra step. It's about making sure that the people you work with, the people that are volunteering for you, reflect the community that you are trying to represent. So for our campaign's part, we have reached out to every over 800 elected officials in this district that we could find personal emails for, because you're not supposed to email a government email on a campaign email. We have made an effort to work with community organizations, a lot of that with our mutual aid efforts, going into different religious and ethnic communities and asking, what do you need and how can we partner with you? We're always down to meet, down to talk. We have a 4A coffee program, which is I'll meet anyone in the district, anywhere, anytime to talk about anything, and really try to make this campaign as transparent as possible. Our employment, like our staff, our volunteers, and frankly our donor base all reflect that diversity. We're focused on the people, not billionaires. We're focused on making sure all of our events are accessible, so even people that are making low or no income can still attend them. It's not $500 a plate. And we're focused on using our resources to help communities right now and ask about their needs.
Okay, oh, does it work? Yep. So I like to tell people, I'm a human being first. That's what I strive for. I did not grow up in Chicago, as many of these folks did. I grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I grew up in a small town. And I understand what a person is and what they mean for the community. I understand that it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, what kind of speech you do, if you have an accent or not. It matters who you are as a person. I'm a human being first. And that's what I'll bring to you as your next congressman. There is a lot of correctness in the fact that I've been here for a while. The Ford name goes back to pre-colonial times in Connecticut. My family's been here a long time. And my family has been here for a short time. My children are dual citizens between Hungary and the United States. They currently have both immigrated to Hungary because they're upset with the way the United States is working. This impacts me too. And I understand the people that are scared. I understand the people that feel othered, that they're worried about what's going to happen in this country, and we're all worried about what's going to happen in this country. We have so much more that we have in common than we have apart. As your congressman, I want to know who you are. I want to know what you need, but know that I'm always going to think that we have a lot more in common than we do, than not. And so we need to bring that both to politics, but then to our actual communities too, and judge people for who they are and what they do, and not on anything else.
Thank you. This is a really important question in the state. My state senate capacity, so currently I serve as a state senator for the 7th district and have for 4.5 years. And I'm proud that in the time that I've been state senator, both of my chiefs of staff were foreign born. That was an intentional decision that I made. And all of my staff are diverse and come from every part of the world. In fact, 90% of all the staff I've hired have been people of color or themselves immigrants or children of immigrants, just like me and just like nearly 50% of my states in the district. I think that representation is really important, and it's reflected in myself as the first Black person to serve as a senator for the 7th district, and of course the first Ethiopian American to be elected to either chamber of the Illinois General Assembly. But I need help from my staff to be able to fully represent such a big district that has nearly 250,000 people. And so I've been proud to have a staff that reflects our district. If I'm elected as your congressperson, that will absolutely be how our staff will look both on Capitol Hill and here in the district. There will be people that look like the 9th district, who speak the languages of the people of the 9th district, and who understand the community. I've also been proud to put together People's Legislative Councils in my state senate office, where I and my team actually organize our constituents, because I believe that the people who are closest to policy failures are the people who have the best answers for legislation. And so we co-write and co-govern on the bills that I introduce and pass as a state senator directly from those communities. And I'm talking about those that are single mothers, I'm talking about those that are here as asylum seekers, I'm talking about people who are undocumented. I've been proud to hire undocumented people in my district office as well. I think it's important to do that. That's our district. And so that is the type of leadership that I would bring to congressional office in terms of staffing. I also just want to say that I've been really proud to be in deep with the community when it comes to crisis in our community. In my first year, I was proud to put together a number of mutual aid initiatives out of my Senate office to provide some toiletries and vet products for refugees from Afghanistan that were coming here in 2021 and 2022. I was really proud to stand with the community most recently in terms of working with our rapid response providers who are trying to protect our neighbors from ICE, making sure that my district office is a people's office that helps to educate people in terms of knowing your rights. My office is an educational space for any constituent who either is afraid of ICE or wants to help their neighbors who have been targeted by ICE. And so I think all of our elected officials ought to be doing this with their office. What we see instead is elected officials who don't meet with constituents, that don't return calls, that don't respond to letters, and then they do such a poor job in office, and we wonder why. It's because they're completely out of touch with the people that they represent. And so I'm proud to be turning a page on that and representing a new type of leadership, a new generation of people that come directly from the community, and that is the philosophy I would bring to being your congressperson. Thank you.
I love the claps after all the answers. Great job. So when I think about the diversity of this district, I want to remind that it's not just racial diversity, it's not just ethnic diversity, it's not just religious diversity, it's socioeconomic diversity first. And we find that people in the most vulnerable positions are the ones that are least likely to advocate for themselves. And once I got elected on the Board of Education, as an example, I grew up low income. The last thing I would ask my parents for was $200 to do art class after school. That's why I'm terrible at art. But that means that for our students, we made it so if you are on free and reduced lunch, you do not have to pay to be involved in any extracurricular activity after school. There wasn't a community member that asked for that. When you're in survival mode, you don't even know that you can ask for these types of things and access to resources to begin with. So to be a staunch representative of the diversity of a district like Illinois 9, we need to be proactive. We cannot rely on reactivity to know or try to understand what people need, because oftentimes those that need it the most are not even well equipped to be asking to begin with. And I actually applaud a lot of what was brought up regarding a co-governance model. That is one that starts during the campaign season, exactly like we have as well. We have a youth council, so we make sure that that age diversity is reflected and represented, but same with different backgrounds as well. So it really comes down to the system that we have right now is one that cleanly translates come after election day as well. And it's reiterating the fact that showing up for your constituents, even if they're not raising their hands, because we found the loudest voices are not always the majority. It's actually most of the time the opposite of that too.
Thank you. Before we go for the next question, I will just like to thank sponsors and the people who are co-hosts of our event. Again, Illinois Committee for Honest Government, Frank Avila, Attorney Frank Avila, a good friend of our community for a long time. He's sitting here representing the Illinois Committee for Honest Government. Rana Javed Khan from Pakistan News, always there for us. And Larissa Taylor from Chamber of Commerce, Western Chamber of Commerce, is a very effective organization in this area, 49th and 50th Ward. We have Jamila Ismail, who also part of the chamber, but she is also a proud owner of Italian Express restaurant, and we thank her for donating pizzas out there. I hope you enjoyed the pizza and the Arabic and Pakistani appetizers. Now there is coffee, Dunkin' Donut coffee, and donuts. Coffee and donuts both. I don't want you to go right now in the middle of the forum, but just to let you know that coffee is not going to stay warm that long. So now we have this American Muslim Task Force representative, attorney Riz. I always know him by Rizwan.
Yeah, Rizwan Ali.
Rizwan Ali. He's also an activist, and I'd like to thank where is Azim. Right there, he is also a sponsor. He has a cricket team. We do all the tournaments, annual tournaments there. Thank you for your sponsorship. Now I would like Larissa to ask a question, for the panel. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Again, I'm Larissa Tyler, the Executive Director of the Westridge Chamber of Commerce. And my question to the panel is, as you all know, small business owners are just recuperating from COVID. And many of them are now, especially in immigrant communities like Westridge, are starting to feel another kind of crisis due to the ICE raids and other immigration enforcement. So my question to you is, knowing that over 50% of employees in America are employed by small business owners, and knowing that small business owners are coming out of crisis, trying to stabilize, and many of them now are starting to feel something else. If you were in office right now, what would be your first order of business to support the small business community, and particularly in Westridge?
Thank you for the question. We decided to mix it up order-wise to take the burden and diversify the voices order. First thing, I appreciate you acknowledging that 50% of the people that live in this country are employed by small businesses. However, the wealth disparity means that corporations take up and make up of far more of what that looks like. And while corporations are getting tax breaks, that should instead be an incentive given to small business expansion. There should be a gift that you receive for opening your business in our neighborhood, and it should be incentivized, and you should be given a reason to stay. It should not be a one-off something that's given just to start your business. But if year 2 after business, let's say you've brought in X amount in revenue, you should be rewarded for that. The same way we had COVID-19 relief funds come out of the vacuum out of nowhere, we should have ICE-related raid relief funds to these small business owners. That is something I would do upon minutes of being in Congress. And actually, I appreciate you bringing that up because, well, in February, by the way, when Main Pipe burst, one of the main pipes within Skokie, it burst and our streets were flooded. That day, I got a call from someone in Skokie saying there's ice in our streets. And it was freezing that day, so I couldn't comprehend what they meant. But they meant there were ICE officers in the streets walking into our halal, our kosher, our Latino, our East Asian owned businesses, hoping to terrorize everyday workers just trying to make a living for them and their families. So what we did in February was we canvassed these local owned businesses to know your rights, because if ICE tries to come to your door and you don't answer the door, no shame, no game. But if you are a business, ICE can just walk in and you can't turn them away. So it's both proactive and reactive modes of protest. So we did that by canvassing our businesses, and it's something we still continue to do. And government has the power to provide relief funds, and I'm shocked that it hasn't been done yet. Thank you.
So, within the first 100 days of if I were elected your congressperson, I would plan to introduce probably a quarter of my bills focused on small businesses. And what that means for the 9th District is that it can't just be more of the same. We can't just expect small businesses in Westridge to navigate complicated applications and hire an expediter that can show them the ropes to sort of get an application approved in government. That never helps businesses in our neighborhoods. I'm proud to actually live not far from here, just a mile north of here, near Webster and Toohey. And it's the pride and joy of our district that you can walk down the street, and probably 1 out of 2 businesses is owned by somebody who is foreign or who is a child of a foreigner, just like my dad was, and so many others that are business owners in this community. And so the first thing that I would do is I would look at all of the grants that have been made available for small businesses and do sort of a 9th District audit. How many of these grants are coming to the 9th District? How many of them are coming to Westridge? How many of them are coming to the small businesses in Westridge that are historically underserved by government? And then I'm introducing amendments to those programs, and in budget hearings, I'm asking questions of the people that head those agencies in the federal government, the people that head the Small Business Administration, and suggesting that we make these programs work a lot better for our local corridors here in Westridge. One example I'll give in the state Senate is 2 years ago, I kept getting so many immigrant-owned businesses in my 7th Senate district that includes Westridge that would come to me and say that they're on hard times. The pandemic left them, similar to the way the Rays are doing right now, the pandemic left them without customers and without inventory, and of course inflation made it a lot harder for them to operate. And so after like the 72nd person that came to my office, and by the way, they came to my office because they trusted me. They wouldn't go to other elected officials because they thought, and there's no shade on the other electeds, but people go to who they go to. And they told me what was happening. I'm behind on my rent. I submitted an application 3 times to City Hall, or to the state, never heard back. I'm ready to give up. I'm thinking of closing my business. And so I actually created a program from scratch. We took $2.5 billion and federal COVID dollars. And instead of just doing earmarks, we created a whole new program that was geared towards these historically underserved businesses on the far north side of Chicago. And we gave out 225 grants, $10,000 each, to small businesses that didn't have to hire a lawyer to help them get the application, didn't have to know somebody at the state or the city hall to get them that grant. And we went and we canvassed on those businesses in places like Butler Woods and Westridge to make sure they knew about it, and then we helped them apply for it. They couldn't believe what they were experiencing. They couldn't believe it because they never had that type of small business opportunity made available to them. We even translated it in 24 languages. Because we know our business owners in Westridge speak probably 80 or 90 different languages and dialects, and that's a conservative estimate. And so this is top of mind for me. It's something that we absolutely have to shake up our small business assistance programs, because they routinely go to the same people, and they're not making their way to our corridors in places like Devon Street, Clark Street, and other retail corridors that we have in this district that predominantly have immigrant-owned businesses.
Well, you got to be happy with him. He's my senator too. It's great work. My competitors are going to get to learn much more about me with this open mic than they have before. I have run a small business. I've been a small business owner. So I'm going to tell you what I would do first as a small business owner. I would take back the right of Congress to get rid of these freaking tariffs. You want to talk about what's hurting small businesses? Any small business owners out there know. Not knowing how much your inputs are going to cost will kill you. It will kill you. Just willy-nilly back and forth. And some of these are, it's not like it's 1 or 2%. We're talking major changes. If we don't give people, most small businesses, my small business wasn't very successful. I ran it for about 1.5 years. but most small businesses that are successful don't need a tremendous amount of help from the government. They need the government to get the freaking out of their way, right? They just need some certainty in what they have to do, what's going to happen, and they will succeed. I am not going to tell you as your congressman, I'm going to know how to run your business. I do not. But I know how not to get in your way, and that's what I'll do.
I just want to say real quick, I did not know we were in the presence of a celebrity. I love Italian Express, so thank you for being here. Yeah, I mean, Justin, you kind of stole my thunder with tariffs. We need to get rid of these tariffs, and we need to be pressuring the Democratic Party on a large scale, especially after power, to not just get rid of these tariffs, to not just abolish ICE, to not just restore funding for grants and departments that Trump has gotten rid of, but to expand it. Because the status quo was not working before Trump, and it's not working now. It's certainly not working now. That pressure is a really essential thing that whoever represents this district and every district in the United States will need to use to hold their colleagues accountable. There is an unwillingness to push against leadership. That is not an unwillingness, I feel. We need a different direction. The status quo is working for our elected officials. It's letting them keep their jobs, but none of us are reaping the benefits. As far as things we can do tangibly, because let's be real, chances are Donald Trump is going to just keep going full steam ahead. And with ICE terrorizing our streets, we need to focus on the immediate needs of communities. Day one, I want to not only expand our constituent services office, keep a lot of people from Representative Schakowsky's office, because this is one of the best offices for constituent services in the country, but expanding it further, instituting a chat feature to make it more accessible to people, especially of all languages. And a lot of times when you call a constituent services office in Congress, the answer you'll get is call the city or the state, which isn't their fault. That is how, especially at the federal level, these big picture things work. But right now, we need to be filling in the gaps that Trump creates. And that's why I want to work with a directory of various mutual aid and direct action organizations like we've been doing on our campaign to make sure that communities are not just being served right now, but being served by people they know in their community, resources they might not be aware that exist. Small businesses are essential to how our country works, and it's also not enough just to have constituent services, just enough to restore this funding, but also to make sure that any funding we are creating, whether it's for building housing, whether it's for infrastructure, whether it's for these huge projects that impact every single person, whether you work as a carpenter or whether you own a restaurant, that there are federal incentives for states to work with small businesses, to work with local businesses, so the same money isn't going into the same 5 pockets every single time we build something new or we develop something new.
Thank you so much. You know, I don't want to interrupt all the time, but I have to do it because I have a lot of sponsors that I want to thank them and some of the people that supported our event, such as Brother Muhammad Mali and Sherry Mali from the Justice Coalition. They had a successful event for the 8th district last week, huge event. Thank you so much for doing that. We have U.S. Palestinian Council sponsored the food from Hala Inn, the best Arabic food on Lawrence and Elston. I want to thank my friend, I don't know, he is a part of so many organizations that sometimes I get confused. So he's also part, Abdurrahman Gule is also a part of this U.S. Palestinian Council, but we have Imad Daboob. Brother Imad, Jazakallah, thank you so much for the sponsorship of the food and everything. Nasir Jangir, where is he? Nasir Jangir? Actually, he's from DuPage County, but he helped us organizing this event. Thank you so much. And of course, my sister Amani Gule, please stand up. Amani Gule, where is she? Stand up, stand up, stand up. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair. So all these people, and then I have Arab American Chamber of Commerce President, Brother Hassan Najam. The media that, you know, I already talked about, Rana Javed Khan from Pakistan News. We have photographers, these YouTubers and TV network. They do the political shows. Khalil, please stand up. Aftab Mahbub. And then we have our brother Rizvi, Ansar Rizvi. These are great assets for the community. You know, they make us feel proud that, you know, the community is growing, mashallah, and now we have our own candidates running for seat. But it's going to be so unjust if I don't mention one name, you know. Because of her presence in the 49th ward and 50th ward and Lincoln ward and all over the community here, we have a leader of Assyrian community here. She's a trustee of Lincoln ward, Atur Sargan. We can invite her to speak few words. So not right now, but after the forum, yeah. So I just wanted to, I couldn't stand without mentioning your name. So thank you so much for all the efforts you've been doing. Now I would ask American Muslim Task Force representative Riz Ali to ask the question. Riz.
Assalamu alaikum and hello everybody. I have 2 quick questions. One is just a yes or no. How many of you receive direct funds from Israel or any affiliated APEX?
None.
Yeah, no. I have not. And will
Had me
not.
for a second.
None and never will.
No, not a chance.
Secondly, I would like to ask, what is your opinion on ICE, which is clear, I'm sure, but more importantly, what is something you can do in your district to enforce legal immigration policies that are already in effect that are being broken? I'm going to give you a quick little story. I have my own law firm called Riz Injury Law, and we represent a lot of Hispanics. And I have clients contacting us, hey, if I get picked up by ICE, what happens with my case? I have colleagues who do probate, and they represent guys who have houses and assets. So if they're being taken, what happens? Is that better? Yeah. So the question is, how do you plan on enforcing immigration policies that are in effect already in your district?
Yeah, absolutely. As everyone at this table knows, a lot of these, we're really lucky to have a district where there are so many progressive candidates. You'll hear on a lot of questions related to issues, a lot of us saying a lot of similar things because we share a lot of values, and none of us are huge fans of ICE. So for the past 6 weeks now, every Friday morning, I have been protesting at the Broadview Processing Center. And I'm sure some of y'all have seen this video of a blonde girl getting thrown on her ass. That was me. We are out there protesting by ICE agents, to be clear, not just random people. We're out there protesting because what is happening at this facility, they're committing crimes against humanity. They are holding people for days or weeks at a time in a center that is only supposed to hold people for 12 hours at a time. These people are denied beds. They are denied hot meals. They are denied access to hygienic products. And here's the thing that I'm sure a lot of people in this room understand is they don't give a damn if you're Latino, if you're Black, if you're Arab, if you're South Asian. I remember after 9/11, we got rid of every single keffiyeh in our house. And a gunman went around the Dallas area where I grew up and went to every convenience store and shot the store owner in the face. Not a single Muslim was killed that day. Not a single Arab was killed that day. It was all Sikh business owners who were minding their own business, but of course this jackass couldn't tell the difference. And that's why it's really important to have radical solidarity when it comes to ICE. It means not just ensuring that people know their rights in any one specific community, but making sure all of us do, and all of us do use our privilege. I know I don't look Palestinian, this is a dye job, but I do realize that gives me the ability to stand up to ICE in a way that more visible minorities cannot. It is on our elected officials to show up. So the first week I was there, we did not have a single political person. The second week we had one, the next week 3, and now, Bushra and I got tear gas together in front of a van because people are turning out. And I think that is, first off, the most important step of when our elected officials stand up and make aggressive attempts to not only speak out, investigate these facilities, but also stand with the community and implement watches for ICE, implement patrols for ICE. That is a necessity right now, and any leader who's not doing that is failing. Additionally, we're already instituting a Know Your Rights campaign on campuses around the district and other parts of the district as well with campaign resources. But we need this at a federal level, or at a state level. Pardon, the federal government doesn't want you to know your rights. In fact, Tom Homan hates Chicago because we know our rights. And ensuring that any legal access that people can have, that they know what is happening. I know that Bushra's actually talked about this, her effort to be proactive on this subject and making sure that people know they aren't signing their rights away to call a lawyer before they do these things. It's really freaking important. So with the government as it is, if I were in Congress today, I would do everything I can to obstruct and delay Donald Trump's agenda. I would do everything I can with my resources to get in the way of ICE when I am in the district, to make sure that my employees and the people that we're aligned with are getting in their way, and to make sure that people who are detained, that we can not only locate them with our Constituent Services Office, but find them a lawyer and get them back home.
The question's very difficult to answer, and the reason is, as a member of Congress, your ability to enforce law is not the same as your ability to influence and write law. The judge over here would be who we'd want to support and to make sure we're following the law. I think that the Attorney General of Illinois is doing a good job of trying to get us to follow the law. I think that Kat spoke eloquently about all the things we can do to sort of try to slow them down and try to help people. Realistically, to fix this problem, we have to win at least the House back. If we keep losing elections, there's nothing any of us are going to do. We're just going to go get arrested, which is fine. That's something to do. But it's not going to help these people's lives. We have to win the House back. And so, I think ICE has come into our communities and terrorized them. And we shouldn't stand by and just let it happen. But at the same time, we need to recognize that in order to stop it from happening in the future, the Democrats have to take back Congress. And how are we going to do that? So that is not to say that these people should not be following the laws. It's not to say that if once we take the House back, we can't have investigations, we can't change laws, we can't do those things. We need to support the people that can do this work. So our Attorney General, fantastic job, and anything you can do to support him and making sure that we are not taken over by other people's armed forces would be good. Making sure that we stand by Bridgeview as they're trying to say, hey, Broadview, sorry. Broadview to say, hey, you can't put this fence wherever you want. But those are the people that have that ability. If there's something that impacts us, we can sue, we can do those sorts of things. But then what we can be is support. It is a team effort, and as a congressman, you are a valuable member of that team to be able to show up to events, to be able to show up to protests, to try repeatedly to investigate and to go into these facilities, as your right is as a congressman. But ultimately, if we do not win back the House, this is a losing war.
So this is a really serious issue. I sometimes talk about the painful biographical footnote that my dad came to this community as an asylum seeker from Ethiopia in a context where his brother Wobisha was disappeared. In a context where my dad and one of his other surviving brothers had to actually leave their compound at night when my grandmother didn't know they were leaving so that they could flee. And they walked for 8 days into another country, to Djibouti in East Africa. That is how he ended up getting asylum in this country. And so when I look at what's happening right now with ICE, doing these raids on our communities, what I see is a war crime. Because the US government under Donald Trump has weaponized and made a federalized police force out of ICE and has sent them into our communities against our will, against the will of the governor, against the will of the Attorney General of Illinois, against the will of just about all the elected officials that represent the communities that have been targeted. And that is a very serious problem. It's unprecedented in modern American history. And so as a son of an asylum seeker, this is something I take really seriously because I don't want the kids that are in our communities right now to have an Uncle Wobisha who disappears the way my uncle did and never comes back. And so what I would do, at first, let's talk about what I've done in the state Senate. I've been really proud to work with community-based organizations in my Senate district and around the state to make sure that our rapid response organizations are out there. We did a big workshop actually at Mather High School, not far from here, which is in Westridge, last Saturday, where 800 people showed up who want to help neighbors who are too afraid to leave the house to buy groceries right now. That is literally what we're living through, is that kind of context. And so that is the kind of work that I've done in this work. And then what I would do, and the other thing I would point out is that one of my proudest votes in the Illinois Senate was for the Way Forward Act in 2021, which prohibits law enforcement in the state from working with ICE. That has been outlawed. And so, and that was legislation that was led by a coalition of organizations comprised of ICER and a number of other organizations that have been fighting for immigrants and refugees like my dad for a long time. If I get to Congress, one of the very first pieces of legislation that I would introduce, I don't care who is in charge of Congress, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, is legislation to abolish ICE. I have felt that ICE should be abolished for a long time. It should have never been created in 2002 during an anxious war that George W. Bush unleashed on this country when he invaded Iraq. That is the legacy that we have from the Iraq War, is this agency that has been turned into federalized police in our communities. So I would introduce legislation to abolish ICE, and then I would go into the budget hearings with a straight face, and I would move legislation and amendments to defund ICE to zero. Because I've seen with my own eyes, this is every man and woman in this room, what ICE can do to our country and to our communities. My uncle is an Ethiopian American who will not leave his apartment in Westridge without his passport. That is what we're living through right now. And so this is something that I take very seriously. And if I get to Congress, I cannot wait to bring renewed vigor and energy to this discussion around abolishing ICE and defunding it, extracting it from our federal government, and moving that money to human services and social services and immigrant services like it belongs.
Every time I have come in contact with someone who's been impacted by ICE, I've learned more and more ways that we can not only slow down the process, but intervene with due process in mind. So the first time I joined a rapid response team for Niles Township was February. So now we know we're canvassing our businesses, we're teaching people their rights, we're teaching bystanders how to be effective bystanders. What to record, what to document. We had people memorize the ICER hotline, which is the Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights' number, and we've shown people step by step what this looks like. When someone gets kidnapped by ICE, they get taken to the Broadview processing facility. If they have not already had one assigned, they get assigned what's called an A number. literally meaning alien number. That, unless your friends and family have your A number, there is no way to track you when within the next 12 hours you get shipped off to Kansas, to Michigan, to Indiana, where these actual detention centers are. So the best thing I would do as a seated member of Congress is what we did with Rep. Schakowsky's office when we had someone detained by ICE in my school district 73.5. We had a grandfather of one of our students kidnapped by ICE in June. I got a call from his daughter and helped interpret in Spanish how to call the ICER hotline. And with Rep. Schakowsky's office, within hours, we got her a pro bono attorney to file a G-28 form. Public defenders can't do that. It has to be a private immigration attorney. We've been telling people when this G-28 form is filed, it's sending a signal that ICE needs to produce this detainee in court, meaning they can't just be shipped off to a random detention facility in a different state without knowing where they are. They are held accountable for this individual, and this slows ICE down while they're trying to literally vanish and diminish our friends and neighbors. So that is something that I would make sure there is a public fund that is just dedicated. And again, the only people that technically can be let into the processing facility in Broadview right now are our federal elected officials. So I would slightly disagree, Mr. Justin, right here. Our federal officials could be doing more. And they can't host Know Your Rights trainings through their government office. That's why we all have political offices. And that's how we've been doing this work while still protecting and shielding our government status, coupled with where this public fund to make sure a G-28 form is filed for every single person that we detect their A number through our rapid response team in partnership.
Thank you to the panel for the responses. I also want to acknowledge two of our partner organizations in this event, Arab America Forward and Congress of Bosniaks of North America. So if there's anybody from those groups, please stand up for acknowledgement. Our next question is from Illinois Committee for Honest Government. Attorney Frank Avila will make that question.
Good evening. Thank you very much for being here. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army, and my son's currently on active duty. My question is twofold. Number one, what are we going to do to end all these forever wars since the end of the Cold War that have been failures abysmally and horribly? Whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it was the coup in Syria, the coup in Libya, all these various military interventions that have been disastrous. Bombing of Iran. What can you do to stop that? And then secondly, what can you do, or what will you do to advocate for veterans as a congressman?
Thank you for the question, for your service, first and foremost. When it comes to what we can do to stop these cold wars, first it's acknowledging that as a country, we profit off of every single war that we insert ourselves into. Meaning we take our taxpayer dollars and we have members of Congress that are purchasing stock amongst these arms and weapons and missile-based groups and organizations, and it's acknowledging that first and foremost that people are profiting off of the killing and mass destruction of innocent civilians around our country. That acknowledgement in itself calls out those people that have failed us as leaders and have been complicit in each of these ongoing Cold Wars. The second thing that I would call it in terms of protections for veterans would be proactive investment in not only mental health services and expansion, but just a 5% off coupon every now and then is not nearly enough the type of damages to recoup that our veterans have gone through in serving our country. But a lot of the times that service has only been one-sided at most, and we recognize and acknowledge that too. The United States has only been self-serving in inserting its dominance and power, and the rest of the world sees that we have nothing to show for all of that either. And we're deemed as that nation that is seen as cowardly. We are losing our world hegemon status and respect by doing and inserting this in a way that is irresponsible. So first is being a loud advocate and champion, first and foremost. It's acknowledging the issue at the root of which and where it exists, and then it's expanding investment and protections for our veterans and forces that do decide to give their time in serving our country in this mode and capacity. The last thing that I'll also call out is I've called for the increased investment in cybersecurity. We actually don't need more members to be putting their bodies on the line and be on the first line of defense. Cybersecurity is what our country needs to be investing in if we're talking about the defense and security conversation. Not only is it the net more efficient and cheap and effective mode to do so, but when we get attacked by a neighboring nation, they'll come for our cell phones, they'll come for our Wi-Fi routers, they'll come for our IP addresses, and we're the only modern country from the 33 industrialized nations that is not equipped for a cybersecurity attack, and we need to protect our people, and we're choosing actively not to invest in that mode. Thanks for the question, by the way.
So the first thing that I would do as a member of Congress is bring a very different framework for how I think about foreign policy. I think this is one of those areas where it's really important to look at the district and the experiences that people have here. A lot of us are immigrants and children of immigrants to this district because things went wrong in the mother country. I just talked about how my uncle disappeared, the kind of persecution that my own family and literally one generation has experienced, and the intergenerational trauma that comes from that. That is the experiences of countless communities in the 9th District who fled Holocaust or who fled genocides or who fled scenarios where they were severely economic oppressed and targeted for who they were. So let's start off by taking the assumption that as the next member of Congress, I want to do what I can to try to redeem those countries. And so that means really having a new type of debate around foreign policy, around where the United States has extracted wealth from other parts of the world, where the United States has abused its superpower status to extract natural resources from countries, black and brown countries all over the world, and many of them in the global south and communities that live right here in the 9th District. It's time to revive that discussion because I don't hear many people in Congress talking about that because they don't understand it. I think that insofar as this question around Cold Wars, it's having moral clarity around when wars are stupid, when the United States is dragging us into a scenario where we want to be the global policeman, but we haven't done anything to repair the damage that the United States has left as a legacy in a lot of those regions, and we see it in just about every corner of the world. And what I get fearful of is I think the new generation of Cold Wars is going to be the kind of wars we can't see. It's going to be through AI. It's going to be through our economic systems that continue to drive a wedge between those that are billionaires and those that are at the very bottom. One of my competitors up here talked about earlier how in the 9th District we have the widest gap of any congressional district in the state between those of the very wealthy and those of the very poor. I'm running in this race to be a champion for the poor. And I'm proud of that, and I'll say that because I think it's time that we have more people in Congress that are willing to fight for the poor. And we have so many people in our communities that are poor because of the results of the military-industrial complex where the United States has overfunded the military, has overfunded the Department of Defense budget to the extent that we can't pay for good schools, we can't pay for human services, and we definitely can't have a real discussion around debt relief for some of the countries that are trying to still throw off the shackles of colonialism and are just trying to have genuine independence and prosperity in their regions. We have to fight for that. And I'm partially running for Congress to do just that work. I really feel strongly about it because my own story is implicated in that in terms of how I got here, the privilege and the responsibility that I now have as a state senator, and I'm proud to have as a candidate for Congress. And then in terms of veterans, I mean, this is also another issue that we don't hear enough discussion about what we're doing for veterans. You know, I would be so proud to, in Congress, have the opportunity to potentially serve on the committee that serves veterans. I would ask to be appointed to that committee because we have so many veterans in the 9th District who have fought in all sorts of wars and are sitting in their apartments and their homes right now still struggling. You know, they can't find work. They have a hard time starting businesses or they're trying to access mental health. My uncle was a veteran who helped raise me. He was a veteran of several wars and was a member of the U.S. Navy. And I remember when he came from the Navy, it was really a struggle for him to get back on his feet. And so we need people in Congress that know veterans, that love veterans, and that want to advocate for them, and are going to actually go toe-to-toe in terms of budget priorities, in terms of public policy, to make sure that we have housing for veterans, make sure that we have jobs for veterans, and make sure that we have health care and mental health for all of our veterans. We owe them at least that.
thank you for your service and for your son's service. It really is an important part of our country. It's a very small percentage of the population that serves in our armed forces, and we need to respect what they've done for this country and what they continue to do for this country. That said, we have to be very careful about how we do things around the world. The United States often thinks that they know better than other people. I said before, I'm a person first. I'm a person first, not an American first. I'm a person first. That doesn't mean that we don't go to war again. What happened in Bosnia can't be allowed to happen. What happened in Rwanda can't be allowed to happen. And the United States has a unique position being able to project force around the world to stop those things from happening. At the same time, like Mike was saying, we do not need to go in and tell everybody how to do everything and decide that we're going to bomb anybody we don't like. As a member of Congress, you have to know the difference. As a member of Congress, you have to know that when you're sending somebody off to war, we're sending your son off to war. And you have to take that very seriously. That bleeds into what we need to do when they come home. I told you guys before, I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. You might not know this, but rural America sends a lot more people into the armed forces than any other place. I have a lot of friends in the military. My best friend served in Afghanistan and Iraq. When he came home, he deteriorated. He started to have some mental health issues. He was not trained, he was not helped by the VA, and he was eventually killed by over medication of antipsychotics when we were trying to get him moved to a better facility. What we do for veterans when they come home is not okay. What we do with these people that, whether it was a good war, a dumb war, they went and they fought for us, we have to fight for them. And as a member of Congress, we have to remember that. And I will remember my best friend dying at 42 every time any bill comes up for the VA. We need members of Congress that are going to fight to bring back some amount of dignity to the way we do our foreign policy, but also to the way we treat our people when they come home.
This is one of those discussions that a lot of our leaders don't want to talk about, and I think it's about leading with humane foreign policy. So many of the richest in our society profit off of the sacrifices of people who are not rich, who join the military to serve our country, but also to get basic needs like education or healthcare, and then they're failed that way too. I'd like to start with the second part of the question first, and I think one of the first things we can do is establish universal healthcare. I know I'm saying that like it's easy, but so many people join the military because they have no other option, and then people who are recruited often in ways that are not truthful sacrifice their lives just for the hopes of being able to attend college or being able to get healthcare, and then they fail there too. They're failed at every step of the way. We want people to serve because they want to serve. And now Trump is making cuts to the VA, cuts to the federal government. The largest demographic in our federal government in terms of the workforce is veterans. Veterans have disproportionately lost their jobs since Trump came into power. So I think it's on us to not only restore these fundings, these jobs, but also expand them and make sure that healthcare is not just a luxury that you get when you risk your life, or maybe you lose your life, maybe your kid loses their life. Also, after Trump bombed Iran this year, I talked to a lot of families and randomly teenage boys at a parade who were terrified because they were scared of a draft. That was something that I have never thought of as a woman, being scared about a draft, but they've been thinking about it since they turned 18. We can't risk drafting an entire generation of boys for a useless war that whatever president that profits off the military-industrial complex wants to push forward. So we need to talk about eliminating the draft. As far as humane foreign policy, I've been endorsed by Peace Action, the world's largest grassroots peace network. We have a responsibility to not act as if we know everything. It's very refreshing to be at a table where everyone can kind of agree that we've screwed up. Not necessarily even our generation, but as a country, meddling in other countries, drawing borders that pit people against each other. Right now, I've heard that hopefully we will have a full ceasefire deal. Hopefully it will hold in Gaza, but it is not enough to just end a ceasefire. We have to rebuild too. We can't be sending people to war in places we don't belong in. And we also need to be pressuring our colleagues. It's not enough to just cast a no vote. You need to be pressuring your colleagues both privately and publicly to stand with people and not with the military-industrial complex. My specialty throughout my career has been communication and using my platform to pressure our leaders into taking action that aligns with our morals and not their pocketbooks. And I will continue to do that in Congress.
Thank you. I'm going to follow your lead and have a two-part question. The first one is also going to be a yes or no, and then the second part I will ask. The first part is our friend and the great Congresswoman Delia Ramirez has introduced a bill in Congress basically to ban the bombs and stop heavy military aid. Delia is great. That type of aid to Israel. Quite a few Illinois congressmen have signed on. Jan is one of them, and Chuy Garcia, Jonathan Jackson, Robin Kelly, and Danny Davis. If you are a congresswoman or congressman, would you support that? Yes or no?
Hell yes.
Yes, but I'd like to say go further. There is no such thing as defensive weapons. We can expand that list.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. One of the biggest humanitarian crises of our time or our history is happening right now in Gaza. Over 100,000 people have died, many of whom are women and children. President Biden was nowhere to be found in calling for a ceasefire. Trump has talked the talk, but has been ineffective. What would you do to push for a ceasefire through congressional means, sanctions or whatnot? I mentioned the bill from Congresswoman Ramirez. What avenues would you propose to have an effective and immediate ceasefire, and also address the need for humanitarian aid, which has not been getting to the people there?
I genuinely might tear up a little bit while talking about this. The last 2 years have been really hard on millions and millions of people, not just Palestinians, but anyone who is seeing what is happening in Gaza and feels it in their soul, looks at their children and sees the faces of sunken children that are thousands of miles away. The Block the Bombs Act is asking us to follow our laws, our legal obligation that if we are giving weapons to another country, they are forced to follow our laws to make sure that our taxpayer dollars are not paying for war crimes. It is a legal obligation, but it is also our moral obligation, and we have to pressure our colleagues to believe so as well. I don't care how much money AIPAC wants to push forward. I don't give a damn, frankly, and I don't give a damn if my colleagues get reelected, because this is our legal and moral duty. I have been pressuring the DNC even before my run for Congress. I was at the convention here in Chicago, sleeping on the concrete outside with the Uncommitted Movement when they said they would not allow a Palestinian American speaker. We were called slurs I didn't even hear growing up as a Palestinian kid in Texas, from people that are supposed to be our, teammates. It made it very clear that there was an exception in humanity, and that was for Palestinians in both parties of our government. And I want to add another Palestinian voice. We need to block the bombs, but we need to rebuild Gaza too. This is not acceptable to just say, well, the bombs stopped falling, and so now these devastated communities can just live in rubble. This is another thing about foreign policy. This is on us. Those are weapons paid for by our dollars. It is our responsibility to clean up this mess. And also, it is not our responsibility to tell both Israel and Palestine about their own self-determination. It is not the United States' responsibility to draw borders. I want a solution. I want peace. I don't want any civilian to live in fear. I don't want, yeah, really controversial now, I guess. We're all so woke over here. I don't want any civilian to live in fear. I don't want any child to go to bed hungry. It doesn't matter what flag they're under. It doesn't matter what borders they're in. But it is not America's responsibility to say, this is what you're doing now. This is how you're recovering from trauma. My grandparents were Nakba survivors. My father was born stateless, and he made such an effort to not pass that trauma on to my brother and I, to the point that he didn't even teach us Arabic. He wanted us to focus on assimilation, as many immigrant communities do. And I just think about what it would be like for him if he knew that he could go home. And what it was like to see a country say, no, you can't go home, and you don't even deserve a state. And your tax dollars, when you move here, when you create a business, when you hire people, those are gonna be spent on bombs to bomb people with your name. Your kids are gonna be fine. What if they were born over there? I'm kind of ranting at this point, I'm sorry. But I'm so fucking sick of a party that is unwilling to stand up for its own values, and even when someone does, they don't stand against their team. Because I think that is the most democratic big D and small d thing you can do.
I think the first thing you need to do, and I think this is a sad first thing we need to do, and I know everybody up here is going to do the same thing, so it's not against any of these candidates, although there are candidates in the race who pointedly do not, is call it what it is. It is ethnic cleansing. It is a genocide. It has been going on for decades, not just the last couple of years, right? This has been an ongoing onslaught against a group of people purely for who they are, and that's not okay. I think it would be fantastic to do a Marshall Plan when this is done, but it has to be done. So what would you do to pressure Israel? Yes, ban the bombs. I already told you. I want to ban all weapons. If we're not going to give it to the Palestinians, we do not give it to the Israelis. If we don't give food to the Palestinians, we don't give food to the Israelis. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. We do not do that. There should be an embargo on Israel until they capitulate. And I don't mean an arms embargo. I think a threat would be all that it would take. Now, do I think that we can do it if we take back the House? No, but we can make them scared. And if we can make sure that AIPAC knows that they no longer control the Democratic Party, then they're going to have to play ball, and we cannot be like this anymore. This is one of the most sad things that we've seen in my lifetime. We've seen horrible things happen to other groups in history. We're seeing it unfold right now, and we need to do everything we can to stop it.
You know, I wake up in the middle of the night with anxiety, haunted at the images that I see and I know that you see every day of Palestinian children who have been amputated, of Palestinian mothers and fathers who can't get food, who can't get health care, who can't return to their homes. What we are seeing is a genocide, and I have moral clarity about that. And whoever our next member of Congress is, can damn sure better have clarity on this issue. And so far as pushing for a ceasefire, and if I were a member of Congress, I think it was said well earlier that we're going to need a lot of creative protest on this. And that's going to mean that it doesn't matter if a Republican or a Democrat is the Speaker of the House. This is still an issue that any Democrat, especially one that represents a district as diverse as this, has to be outspoken on. And that means supporting full Palestinian human and civil rights. That means fully supporting humanitarian aid to be unblocked so that they can get to the starving families of Gaza who have lived there a long time and who deserve, just like any human being, to be able to eat and be able to return home at night in peace. and not have bombs falling from the sky on hospitals and schools and villages. This is the defining human rights issue of our lifetime and of our generation. And we must all do something about it. This is gonna take everybody's active concern, from our neighbors who are pushing on elected officials to speak up on this, who are pushing on their elected officials to push for a ceasefire, and who themselves are pushing on organizations that have the ability to affect the public debate on this issue. And so you count on me to do that good work if I get to Congress, to continue to push for that ceasefire, to continue to light a fire under our Democratic colleagues who are scared on this issue, who won't talk on this issue, and who won't use their positions to advocate for a ceasefire. Similarly with humanitarian aid, I will say what I said earlier, which is that the United States government must defund the military-industrial complex. We must take money from the Department of Defense that is a swollen budget, and we have to use that money to bring humanitarian aid to hard-hit regions of the world, and we gotta start with Gaza, because we have seen the damage and the calamity that is taking place there, and I cringe to think about what will happen in another 6 months or a year if we do nothing.
I first want to acknowledge the brainwashing that takes place at the time that we're students, because our textbooks are written by McGraw-Hill, which intentionally has made it so that it's somehow controversial to acknowledge what's happening in Palestine anything other than an unequivocal genocide. And that is what students in the 9th Congressional District have been taught and reading and learning through and through. Therefore, at the minimum, they need a champion that is a staunch advocate and understands the propaganda that we have been fed growing up, to understand where the truth actually lies. The second thing, when calling for a ceasefire, as the United States, we have single-handedly funded the genocide with our taxpayer dollars, and now we must leverage every single penny that's been given to demand Israel to sit down at the table and agree to a permanent immediate ceasefire, and demand Israel and the United States to pay the reparations that Palestinians deserve, and to make sure that we are at the forefront of rebuilding Gaza. Because we started it, and we profit off of it, unfortunately, as well. And that should disgust all of us, too. The third thing is, last year in March of 2024, while it was still for some reason seen as controversial to call for a ceasefire, Representative Schakowsky only called for one because we did not offer her a speaking slot at our annual iftar last year. So she came to our iftar, we gave her the microphone, and she called for a ceasefire in March of 2024 at my Ramadan iftar. And if that's what it takes putting that public pressure on our elected officials, but also candidates during a time like this, then go ahead. That's what it takes. But the last thing is, we've seen partisanship get in the way of progress on this issue. We see the few people that voted on Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment to curtail an incremental $500 million in aid to Israel. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene's an Islamophobe and an anti-Semite and all that and more. But I see the people that voted yes on the bill but no on the amendment because she was a Republican. That is so embarrassing for so many of us. And we should remember and hold those people accountable too, that you let party lines get in the way of supporting humanity. And the last part of this, I feel like I touched on it all, but did I miss a part of the question? Sorry, I also got preachy there. I think that was it? Okay, yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a gentleman here. We are all sitting here comfortably. We ate food. We're sitting here. I'm going back and forth, but then I come and rest. But there's one person who is standing here all this time. Abu Abad, come in the front. Come. He's been, I mentioned all those YouTubers and everything, but Sheikh Yusuf Marai, the most well-known activist in the Arab American community in the north side. There are so many of our activists in the south, but very few in the north, and he's one of them. Thank you so much for everything you've been doing. Sheikh Yusuf Marai. But 1 second only.
Assalamu alaikum. No way. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, there is a point being hidden and missing. As being a Palestinian American, me, so about 4 years, I went to visit my family one day to see my mother before she's died, my father, my sister, my brother, all of them died. May God bless your deceased and mine and everybody. All by a sudden, I see myself in the border of Palestine and Jordan being thrown in jail for 40 days. Simply, I was working in a mosque. We bought a church to be a mosque, which is, we thank the priest who sold us the wood. A God worship of house to another worship, from Christianity to Islam, that's great. And all by a sudden I've been accused, collecting donations and sending for terrorism, which is even a single dollar, no evidence. But how come me not to be protected by my government, the American as an American? Whereas another American type of another nationality, they will jump and take him, send a helicopter, bring him back home, all of that. So I need that an issue too in the future after the war calmed down. Also, Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans, Western Americans, Gazan Americans to be considered too. That is, I ask you to take that in your action somehow to be fair. America, I came to America to be free. All by a sudden, when I carry my American passport, the most ever important document in the world, did not protect me from being jailed and did not give me the chance to see my mother and father before they died. So that is the point I'm presenting here today for you to be a Congress elected. All of you, inshallah, will be elected one day. Inshallah.
Sheikh Mary makes a good point. One of the biggest issues right now is American citizens who are actually minors being held in prison in Israel. And that's a big concern that we need more advocacy from our elected officials to get them out of that. These are kids, 14 and 15 years old, and get them out of that predicament and back home. Speaking of this subject, and a big ally of ours, and somebody who's been on the front lines fighting ICE and working on human rights and civil rights for our citizens, is a great candidate for office. She's going to run for Illinois Controller. I'd like to welcome Senator Karen Villa to the stage.
Assalamu alaikum. It is such an honor to be in this room. I feel like I'm walking into a room of family. We have so much in common. The color of our skin and the language that we speak is now a reason for being picked up, being targeted. The Latino community and your community has experienced this for a long time. And after 9/11, your community was in the news, and now my community is in the news. But truly, people walk by us and they could confuse you for my father and confuse me for your daughter. So we are, in all of this time, we are together. I want to talk to you about why I'm running for controller, but let me just tell a few of you as to why I'm doing that. Those who don't know my past and what has led me here, you need to know my heart to know why I do what I do. My parents owned a small business in my local community. And from the time I was 13 until the time I was 25 years old, I worked in that shop and I took care of the customers, and they would come in and ask me to translate documents, and they would ask me to go with them to their doctor's appointments, and they would ask me to go with them to register their child in school, and I did, and I was only 13, 14, 15, 16 doing these things with them, but that's what you do, right? That's what you do for your neighbors. And eventually I realized I wanted to do something to help other people, so I went to school and I got my degree and I got my master's in social work, and I got right to work as a school social worker in that same community that helped raise me. And in that time, I got to see the beauty of our community at a different level, and the struggles and the pains of our community at a different level as well. And so eventually, I was looking around and thinking, there's no one in this area that represents us that looks like me or who's a Democrat, for that matter, at any level. Because remember, I live out in DuPage County, and so I said, well, I'm going to run for office because at that time, Bruce Rauner was not passing a budget, so they were cutting services to healthcare, to mental health, to housing, all of the services that our working families really depended on day after day. So I said, I'm going to stop complaining, I'm going to do something about it. So I went out and I knocked on doors for 2 years. People thought I was crazy. They're like, when is this election? What are you doing? But for 2 years, I listened and listened and listened, and I kept going around and asking people what their concerns were. People's concerns are the same here, there, and everywhere. They want a great community to raise their children in a safe space. They want good public education, and they want to know that their tax dollars are being taken care of by their elected officials. So I worked hard and I flipped a district. I switched it from Republican to Democrat, and 2 years later, that guy named Jim Oberweis, I replaced him. I got rid of him. I went into the Senate, and my friend and mentor is sitting right back here, Senator Laura Murphy, a friend to the community. And let me tell you, in that time, we've worked so hard to pass legislation on behalf of our communities, helping make their worlds a better place, and things were looking up until the second term happened. And many of us knew what was coming because we read it in his Project 2025 manual. We knew what was coming. And we knew what would come was going to be slashes to the federal budget in order to fund his military and in order to fund ICE. And sure enough, that's what he's doing. And we're watching it play out horrifically in front of our very eyes. We are watching it play out. So then, fast forward to the day Susana Mendoza announces that she will not be running for re-election. And so I get a phone call saying, Karina, are you interested in running for controller? And I said, well, what about Susana? Well, she announced she's not running for re-election. You see, I was in Mexico visiting my dad in a rural part of Mexico, so I hadn't been catching up with the news. So I said, well, what do I need to do? And they said, well, you need to be here on Friday in order to go for slating in front of the party, the Cook County Democratic Party. There's 50 members who are going to vote, and you need to be there to present. And in the meantime, you need to call everyone and ask them to support you. So I said, okay, let me do it. I'm down. This is an important role, and I'll tell you why it's so important in a second, but let me finish this part of the story. So I get on a bus overnight to the border. I get on a bus from the Mexico side of the border in the morning at like 6 a.m. I cross the border to El Paso. I get on a plane. Well, actually, I missed my first flight. I get on a plane eventually, and I fly to Chicago. I get a hotel room in the city. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning in order to go to the slating process. All the meantime, I'm calling 50 committee people who are all like, yes, 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 we're with you, including, of course, my friend Laura Murphy and Don Harmon. Delia Ramirez and Chuy Garcia were all in with me. Senate President Don Harmon, as well as President Tony Preckwinkle, were all in with me. And at 9 o'clock, the night before I was going to the slating, I get a call, and I'm so excited. I was about to have a glass of wine. I was so excited. And let me tell you what the call said. The caller said, Karina, they're not wanting to vote for you. Why? What do you mean? I have the votes. No. A billionaire is calling people to tell them that you are a keffiyeh-wearing, Hamas-loving anti-Semite. And they should not vote for you. And if they vote for you, that person, that billionaire, is going to remember them when it comes time for the re-election. And so The next day I went and I boldly spoke and I gave my speech, and I still had many allies, including Senator Murphy, who voted yes for me, who stood the line and said, we are with Karina. But I came a little short, and I did not get the party endorsement. And then my phone started ringing. Karina, are you okay? Are you okay? Everything they were saying about you, it's so horrific. And you know what I had said? I was like, what? They said I wear a keffiyeh. I really do. They're accusing me for standing up for people who are dying, who are waiting in line for food. They're like, but what does that have to do with your race? It has nothing to do with my race, but they brought it up. And yes, it's true. I am standing up. Every single day I will stand up until that atrocity is over. And so I'm still running for that race. And I could use donations, KarinaVilla.com, look me up, send me some money. But why? Why am I running for that seat? All joking aside, but really I do need money. I am running for that seat because this seat, the seat of the controller right now with the federal government slashing the budget, and by the way, right now, shutting down government, we in the state of Illinois are in dire straits. Our small businesses are suffering, Chamber. Our small businesses are struggling. Our healthcare services are struggling, mental health services are struggling, our immigration services are struggling, and this federal government is looking to chop us off at the knees with our budget. Budget paid for by the hard-working people of Illinois. And we need a controller who's going to know how to organize and prioritize the order in which the bills are paid, and prioritize the people who need it the most. In order of the most vulnerable people in society, because that is what I believe our task is to do right now. And inshallah, one day, we will celebrate when this man is out of office. Inshallah, one day, we will celebrate when these bombs stop and these murders stop. But until then, we need bold leaders in every single space, no matter what the issue is. And if it is the bombs in Gaza, that people use their voice, leaders use their voice. Or if it's the people who are homeless on the sides of the street, that leaders use their voice. Or if it's ICE terrorizing my city, that leaders stand up and say, this is my city. That is the bold leadership that we need right now. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. We need more brave leaders like you, definitely in the state. You know, I'm glad that you're running for that state controller seat. We need someone like you, definitely. We have, we already have one person that's been sitting here for a long time, my good friend, who was also a leader in the Lincolnwood community, trustee of Lincolnwood, Atul Sargan. Please come and say a few words, and then we have Senator Laura Murphy. She will come after that. And then we will put the question answers. If anyone has any questions, we have limited time, so then you can ask questions. I'll bring the microphone to you. Please give her a big hand. Our great supporter. She's also a board member of MBOAD, American Middle East Voter Alliance. Judge Haddad was here earlier, chairman of that, and she's an executive board member. Very good.
Thank you, Salman. Thank you, everyone. As Salman mentioned, my name is Atul Sargan. I'm a first-generation Assyrian American. I want to thank you all for being here, but first and foremost, can we please give a round of applause to all of our candidates who are here today? Thank you so much for taking the time to answer all the questions. Thank you for your answers today. I just want to say that our communities collectively have come such a long way. We've come a long way in advocacy. We've come a long way in elections. We see a lot more representation. We see a lot of our issues being addressed, but we still have a long way to go. So races like this one today is crucial and critical for the work we have moving forward. As a proud member of AmVotePAC, I can say in terms of the data collection, the number of people we have registered to vote and we continue to register to vote is exceeding our expectations. And that for the first time, we're seeing candidates proactively seek our endorsement because they know the impact that our communities can make. And so we need to use all of those tools that are essential to making sure that our needs are represented. So thank you so much for your time today. I want to keep it short and sweet, and Assyrian would say, klito chlita. So I'll pass it along to Senator Murphy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And now, Senator Murphy, and the person sitting right next to her is a trustee of Main Township, and Senator Murphy was a chairperson of Main Township, and they worked together. Asif Malik, please stand up. Trustee, give him a big hand. You know, he is always very gracious to invite us to all the events in Main Township, and Main Township is a big part of 9 congressional district. Without any further ado, Senator Laura Murphy.
Thank you. And thank you for hosting this event tonight. Thank you to the candidates for participating. I'm Laura Murphy. I'm the proud committeeman of Asif Malik, who is the first Pakistani ever elected in Main Township. So we appreciate all that he brings to that. I'm just going to take a few minutes to say to you something you know. There is no more important election than what we're facing coming up. You have a huge decision to make in your candidates. I ask you to inform yourself, and thank you for taking the first step in doing that, informing yourself of who the candidates are, to make sure you know who the right person is. Because we are at a place that this is an America that I don't recognize. This is an America that is headed in the wrong direction, and you need people that will fight in Congress that will turn it around. I'm scared. For the first time ever, I'm really scared for the future of where we're at. I just came back from Europe on Sunday, and to see the militarization of the city of Chicago, it's appalling, absolutely appalling. But we can stop that. We can stop that by electing good people in Congress, people that are going to fight. Now, you're going to have a hard choice because you have 19 candidates, and I've had the opportunity and thrilled to serve with Senator Karina Villa, Senator Mike Simmons, Senator Laura Fine, all great people, and all the other candidates that you have to choose from as well. But you're going to have to make the choice. But most importantly, I need you to get your neighbors, your relatives, everyone you've ever met, and get to the polling place, because when you vote, you'll win, we'll all win. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Now, it's open for the questions. If you have any questions, please let me know. Make sure that it's a brief, it's a brief question, not the speech. So, you have a question, your name?
Assalamu alaikum. This question is for Bushra. You've inspired many symbolically, but the community wants to see results. Can you highlight your most significant accomplishment that translates to this office? What is one concrete win you will deliver for working class Muslims and immigrant families in IL9 within your first year, and how will you measure success?
Great question, thank you. So as an elected Board of Education member, one of the first things they teach you is what you cannot do. Yet in spite of that, I'm proud to have influenced 3 pieces of statewide legislation. The first is my school district became the first public school in the state of Illinois to mandate halal, kosher, and vegetarian food options for the people that they serve. And that became a case study for the state of Illinois. And we made it so that every public institution in this state, whether it's schools, prisons, hospitals, mandate that they require halal, kosher, and vegetarian food options for the people that they serve. As a school board member. The second thing is, growing up, I was oftentimes asked, what have your people done to benefit American society besides 9/11? And it's a really charged question, and it's obviously an unbiased one too. So I made sure that we would have, and again, our school was the first in the state to do so, to mandate the teachings of the positive contributions, of all minority faith groups in history. Think Muslim Americans, Sikh Americans, Jewish Americans, Hindu Americans, Buddhist Americans. The person that was one of the lead architects of the Willis Tower was a Muslim American. We invented algebra, we invented coffee, and that piece of legislation passed and was signed into law by Governor Pritzker. And now every public school in the state has to teach the positive contributions of Muslim Americans and other minority faith groups. And the third thing was we became the school that made sure that regardless of your socioeconomic background, so my school is an example that fluctuates in its Title I status as a public school, meaning some years our students are 33% or more are in free and reduced lunch, meaning they're lower income, and some years it's 31%, meaning we lose that Title I status. And could you imagine what that does to our state budget for a public school? It's terrible. It makes it so teacher salaries and living wages are in flux. It means the union doesn't know how to best prepare for the upcoming 3 calendar years, and it means admins rely on unfair bonuses that teachers don't get access to. We passed the most equitable state salary pay scale for all of our teachers in this district, and we have what's called the Little Nine. It's 9 feeder school districts that feed into District 219, Niles North and Niles West High School, that asked to borrow our pay scale. And that influence is one that I'm proud to have championed in Illinois' 9th Congressional District and beyond. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Rizwan. So I would like to ask you guys one question. How do you guys plan on reforming law enforcement and increasing the policing in your neighborhoods once you are elected?
I'm holding the mic, so I'll start. First, we do not need to increase police in our neighborhoods. Thank you. What we should do is the enforcement that we have should be equipped and trained to best understand the communities that they're designed to serve and not the other way around. In tandem, while we defund the militarization and the current police, we must simultaneously invest in mental health services, because proactive modes of investment can prevent the increased crime. And we have private prisons in this country that, again, profit off of people who like all of us to get put behind bars, and these black and brown people need someone that can advocate for them, not racially profiling them and is treating them differently because they're not equipped to be doing the job that they're hired to do so. And when that's actually intentionally designed with that status in mind, then we actually have well-equipped, well-trained police officers who are designed to actually benefit and reduce and mitigate crime, which, by the way, is down in this district and in the city of Chicago, so don't let others fool you otherwise, but the solution's not more police at all.
I think that we need to have a conversation around community safety and wellness. And I'm somebody that supports treatment, not trauma. The biggest systemic injustice that we see with law enforcement is that they are asked to do too many things. We're asking police officers to keep us safe. We're asking them to provide mental health and de-escalation. We're asking them to do everything, and it's not right. It's not fair to them to ask them to do 2 jobs that they're not equipped or trained to do. I don't think that they should be in schools. I don't think that they should be in a lot of places where we expect them to do work that is not what they signed up for. So I would say, starting off at the bat, I think that we are at a point in our country's history where a new generation is bringing a whole new vocabulary and framework around safety. Safety is not just lock them up and throw them away. It's not law and order. If that's the case, then Donald Trump's ICE officers would love to make an example of me at any moment. That's what that law and order is all about. We know that that's what it means. And so we've got to have new models that are part of the approach. And so in the State Senate, I've been really proud to work with my progressive colleagues to find revenue to fund these kind of programs that do violence prevention. I doubled the amount of funding I got back from my State Senate district this year, $2 million for what are called credible messengers, which are nothing more than people who escaped criminal life, who escaped the gang life, and who are able to go out and de-escalate conflicts and stop shootings before they have happened. And we've literally seen shootings and homicides in my State Senate district in the neighborhoods that were hard hit in 21 and 22 decrease in the last 12 months. And I think it's been directly as a result of those forward-thinking violence prevention initiatives that conservatives, by the way, routinely dismiss. But the reality is that the data shows that these programs work. You know, I can show you 4 studies from the University of Chicago and Harvard that show that these programs, these violence prevention strategies and street outreach approaches to public safety actually keep us safer. And so, if I'm so humbled enough to get your vote for Congress, this will be the type of thing I am championing in my first 6 months. Literally, for the first budget in FY27 or FY28, I would be pushing the chair of the Budget Committee to dramatically increase funding for those violence prevention strategies that even the University of Chicago tells us works, and that my state Senate district I saw works. And we would be taking that money away from the military-industrial complex. It is time that we do this. So that we relieve our police officers of all the things we place on them so that they can just do their jobs, and we can actually have safer communities sustainably over the long term.
The problem to have all Democrats, all liberal Democrats up here is my first 2 opponents said fantastic things that I agree wholeheartedly with. So I'm going to underline something slightly different. I'm a public health professional. Crime is a public health problem. The way that you approach this is exactly how we've been talking about. You have to make sure you take a holistic approach to public safety. That includes mental health, that includes poverty reduction, that includes food stamps, that includes child care. This is not an isolated thing. If we want safer communities, we need to build more equitable communities. One of my favorite quotes is that the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice. We need to build a more just society. We need to support our police in what they do. We need to make sure that we don't ask them to do too much. But we also need to make sure that we look at the entire community and treat it as it should be, as a place where people live.
I'm sure y'all are getting sick of hearing us talk over here instead of getting donuts, but yeah, the answer is not more police. If raising police budgets year over year and giving them more lethal toys to play with was the answer, then we would live in a perfect society, but it's not. In fact, crime is going down in a lot of major cities in America. The right would like you to think it's not, but that is a scare tactic meant to embolden the police to do as they please and to embolden ICE to do as it pleases. What everyone said here is correct. Crime is not from someone just being bad, it comes from material needs not being met. And so that's where we need to start. It is not an easy one-step solution, but we can start by making sure that people have what they need. Housing, groceries, and healthcare, they're basic human rights. We have the money to do this. We instead spend it on military contracts where the contractors are price gouging us. We instead use it to give tax breaks to billionaires and pad the profits of pharmaceutical companies and other companies that are benefiting off our misery. And I personally think it'd be better to spend it on children getting fed or people getting education. But I'm kind of controversial like that.
Thank you. We're going to start to close the program. I want to thank again the U.S. Palestinian Council, the Congress of Bosnians of North America, the West Ridge Chamber of Commerce, Arab America Forward, Illinois Committee for Honest Government, Pakistan News, the United Cricket League, and of course, our main host, the American Muslim Task Force for Civil Rights and Elections. I want to thank. Oh, we have just a quick yes or no question.
I love the yes or no question.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Muqtada Ahmed. Very nice to see all of you, and it's actually so great to see all of you guys positively campaigning. And frankly, the opinions that have been in disagreement are not here. So my question is very simple, yes or no. One, would you commit to running a positive campaign, not attacking each other? Because I loved what I heard from all of you guys. And second, when your path is not clear to win, I would love all 4 of you to be in Congress. But if it's not clear, you commit to drop out and helping endorse someone else. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes and yes, but we're gonna win.
Those are great questions, and you're gonna get some disagreement. I'm gonna say no and no. You deserve, somebody, whoever the Democrat is that wins this, is going to be your next representative. If I get 10 votes, then at least those 10 people got to vote for who they wanted to. This is a democracy. I'm not going to pressure anybody to drop out. At the same time, some of my competitors don't want to call Palestine a genocide. What am I supposed to do with that? Not say anything? Not be like, hey, what you doing? I can't tell you I'm not going to be negative. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to point out when I think somebody else is wrong.
Everything I do, I think about how would my mother want me to carry myself in this world. And that means carrying myself with kindness. And the thing is, that doesn't mean I'm a pushover. I come from a household of family members who survived every type of systemic injustice that is visited on households in the 9th Congressional District, whether we're talking about housing, whether we're talking about falling through the cracks of our healthcare system, or just talking about the example I gave earlier of my Ethiopian uncle who will not leave his apartment without a passport in the community of Westridge. And so I think that I can do that and be honest about some of the issues that come up in this campaign. The reality is that our systems and our establishment oftentimes confers and coordinates people and individuals because of how much money they've raised, or the fact that they've been in office for several decades. And I don't think that that's a good proxy for power for my community. And so I'm going to be looking at this race on my message and what my relationship to the community has been, the deep ties that I have with the communities all across this district that are extended kin in terms of how I view my communities. And I'm going to be very honest about the vision that I have for this district. I'm going to be very honest about the leadership that has not been provided for too long for our communities. And that is a real problem that we have to talk about in this race. And I think if we do that, and I think if everyone here does their part and stays engaged and pays attention to what the candidates are saying or what they're not saying, we will elect the best person to be our next member of Congress, no matter who's on the stage today. Thank you.
I know it was a yes or no question, so I'm gonna go yes and hopefully maybe Kat gets a chance to expand if she wants to as well. Yes on positive messaging. I get people, dozens that walk into our campaign office every day saying they hate XYZ person, so they found me. I don't want that. I want to be the pro-Bushra campaign. And if there comes a point at which the pro-Bushra campaign does not have the steam that maybe another one does, it's not about me. And consolidation is the responsible thing to do at that point. So our community and the communities that are supporting me don't lose the political capital they've invested when we have an opportunity and a chance to consolidate our efforts.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just want to echo those same sentiments. Like, it's not necessarily, I think a big issue with competitive primaries is the idea that one candidate is the party's pick and that's the person. I think if any of us chose to drop out to back behind a candidate, it's because we want to make sure that someone with our values wins. And that is the priority, is getting those values through. But of course, it's a 17-person race. It's fun.
So there are 17 or 18 candidates in this congressional race, and only 4 of them are here. So that you guys make our job very easy. So now we have to pick one of these 4 to endorse when we endorse them. But the rest of them, I won't mention the name, but some of them ask us what questions are we going to ask. And when they heard the list of the questions, they backed out, okay? So we are fortunate enough that we have all these candidates here. We will get back to you guys and ask your opinion about the endorsement, who should be endorsed, but we have our panel who already is taking notes. So, but I want to mention one name here, last but not least. I couldn't be talking, this thing. The guy who owns this thing, right? That we are all enjoying this show today is Birjis Tamuri. That's volunteer. He gave all the sound system and everything. And thank you so much. He's always there for our political and social events. Even we ask him, we can compensate you. He said, no, it's my civic duty. So thank you so much, Birjis. And the final notes by my friend, my brother, my mentor. You know, I'm just trying, I want to be just like him when I grow up, so.
Thank you. So, man, we always do a great job working together. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I want to thank the guest speakers. I want to thank Kat Abu Ghazaleh, big hand. Justin Ford. Senator Mike Simmons. Trustee Bushra Amarawa. They have petitions here, and of course, Karina Villa's petitions. We need to sign these. If someone made a good impression for you, please sign their petition. And don't forget Karina Villa's.
I have my boss, Tom Dard's petitions here too. So if you live in Cook County, please don't forget to sign these petitions. It has Tony Preckwinkle, Pat Hines, Monica Garden. One of the Monica Gardens employee, Gabriel Fakuri, was sitting here, I think he left. Tom Dowd and Maria Papa. So make sure if you live in Cook County, you sign these petitions. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for coming. Another hand for our candidates.